Hi folks, welcome to another episode of My Life with Robert Burns. Jim Thompson and Douglas Mackenzie here again to talk to another of our cronies from around the Burns world. Hi Jim, how are you doing?
Hi Douglas, hi everybody. I'm doing great, Douglas, and I'm really looking forward to this evening.
Good. Right folks, our guest has come all the way from Peterhead, the Blue Toon. Tonight, cronies everywhere, please welcome Jake Buchan. Hi Jake.
Hiya, absolutely privileged to be here.
That's nice. Nice to have you here, Jake. As you know, the question we ask, first of all, with these podcasts is always the same. Jake, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Of course. My name is Jake Buchan, and I was born on the 9th of September 1999 in Aberdeen Neonatal Unit. When I was in my early days of birth, my parents were told that I wouldn't be able to do anything. I wouldn't be able to walk, see, communicate, remember things. I wouldn't be able to do none of that. And then I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. I live with my parents, Mark and Cindy Buchan. They are absolutely inspirational, and they've stayed with me all the way through my life. And I would just like to thank them for being so supportive. So, and then I went to, and I lived with my brother Bruce. He's a great inspiration as well. In my school days, I went to a special needs school in Peterhead, Recitation, where I was first introduced to my hero, Robert Burns. But doing Robert Burns at school wasn't enough for me. January just flew in too fast for me. So I took an interest myself. And when I was 9 years old, I learned the address to a haggis. And I don't have to practice it every time. It's in my head from the minute I learn it until the minute I'm on my last. It'll stay there forever. And then I went on to learn the epic Camel Chanter, To a Mouse, A Red Rose, My Heart's in the Highlands, and I plan to learn many more in the years to come.
That's tremendous, Jake. Take us back a bit to your school days before we start talking about Burns in detail. And what sort of subjects did you do at school other than covering poetry, obviously?
At school, it was like a special needs facility, and we got taught the basics and we got taught life skills and things. And I did go to Peterhead Academy part-time, and I did business admin at Peterhead Academy. So I was glad to get the taste of a both worlds. And in 2014, I finally got to address the haggis at the school Burns lunch.
Tremendous.
I was never allowed to do it. Now, I want to tell you a story about when I addressed the haggis for the first time at the school.
Yeah, on you go.
You were told that you were only supposed to recite the first 3 verses in the last verse. And I thought, nah. I was sitting next to the secretary, the honorary secretary of the Peterhead Burns Club. And I thought, no, I want to make him impressed. So I went and did the whole poem. And a member of staff came up to me and said, you shouldn't have did it. But the secretary of the Peterhead Burns Club was so proud, and he said it was the best he had.
Well, Jake, we've talked about it a couple of times now about the haggis. Would this be an appropriate time for you to get us to give us a recitation of the poem?
Do you want me to do the whole thing or just?
Hey, you can't tell us the story about not being allowed to do it at school and then not give us the whole thing here.
Okay, unfortunately, and I got a haggis in front of me. I had you in because I would have bought a haggis.
Well, just need to pretend. We'll pretend it's down below the bottom of the screen.
I've got my drum, don't worry. Right. Therefore, your honest sonsy face, great chieftain of the pudding race, I've been the mud, you take your place, pain, stripe, and fear. We'll all hear word your grace, as long as my ear. The groan and trencher there you fell, that heard these like a distant hill. Your pen would help to mend a mill in time of need, while through your pores the juice dissolved like a bird bead. His knife, see rustic labor decked, and cut you up with only slacked, trenching your gushing entrails bright like ony ditch. And then, oh, what a glorious sight, warm, reeking rich. Then horn to horn thee, stretch and strive, deal tuck thy must ongy drive, for all the wheels fall against my life, are bent like drums. And I, good man, mayst like to rive, be funk it hums. As the other tour, his French ragout, or olio that would store sue, or fricassee that would mock his view with perfect scunner. Mugs doing with steam, scorn for view on stick a dinner. Poor devil, see him with the trash, as feckless as a withered rash. His spindle shrunk a good whiplash, his knave a net. Through bloody flutter filtered ash. Oh, how unfit. But mark, the rustic haggis fed. The trembling earth resounds his tread. Clapping his willy knee a blade, he'll make it whistle. And legs and arms and feet he'll snared, like tops of thistles. Ye powers will make mankind you care, and dish 'em out, the bubble of fear. All Scotland wants, nae skink and wear, the jumps and muggies. But if you wish, our grateful prayer, ye have the haggis.
Oh, well done. Excellent. Excellent. And you get many opportunities to perform that?
Well, nae at an official Burns nights, but I have done it at like care homes and like bowling club Burns suppers, but nae at an official club.
Well, hopefully once people have seen this this YouTube video, you'll be on the list.
And this is also why I wanted to be here today.
You're a great man for social media. I noticed that you're really up to speed with the use of the YouTube and Facebook and such like.
Well, it was during the coronavirus pandemic. I had plenty of time on my hands, but I didn't have anybody to film. Again, there was only me. So I did voice recordings and my reciting, and I put pictures on top of that. It wasn't until recently that I've been able to get proper films done.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely proud of the video I made at Tamoshanta.
And I think you're right to be. What got you interested in putting together the films? Was it Burns first, or was it the films first?
Well, see, I just wanted to present Tamil Shantam in a different way. I mean, people recite Tamil Shantam. A lot of people recite it, and it's good. But I think Tamil Shantam needs to be performed. It needs to be told. And there's people, it's inspired me. And there's this gentleman, his name is Fred Cruden. And I go to the Peterhead Masonic Burns Club, Burns Supper, and he recites it. And he dresses up with a bonnet, and he walks around the tables, and the lights are all out, and it's creepy. And I says to myself, I want to do that. So I go and get the blue bonnet, and I've got a tankard, and I wear the white necker around my neck. And that film is available on my YouTube channel. And I am happy to share the link with you all.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find a way of including the link somewhere on this episode and one of our credits pages.
I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's what we'll try and do.
I think Tamil Shantar is in 80 views. It's got like 80 views.
Oh, that's good. Well, hopefully if we share the link, you'll get a few more.
I mean, 80 views is good, but I think it deserves well over 100. And I did it in one take as well.
Oh, well done.
No mistake.
Well, we'll come back to Tamil Shantar a bit further on. I want to get you to tell us a little bit about the fundraising you've done.
Well, in 2010, I've always had an understanding that there's people worse off than me. So in 2010, I decided to raise money for children in need. So I did a coffee morning, and I did 20 laps around the local running track. Each of my friends took a turn to push me around the running track. And I managed to raise over 4,500. And I was the first pupil in my school to receive a Pride of Buchan award for my fundraising efforts.
Done.
And
who presented the award to you?
It was the local councillor. And in 2016, I decided to write an autobiography about my life because I thought my life was worth talking about. So I got my hands busy, started typing this autobiography, and it sat on my computer. I wasn't letting people read it or anything. And then I decided I would like to get it published. So I went down to the local printer in Peterhead, and they printed the book. Rather than keep the money to myself, I decided to raise the money to the neonatal hospital in Aberdeen, and I raised an incredible £5,000.
Oh, wow, fantastic.
And the whole of Peterhead was behind me, the local businesses, my family, my friends, my carers. Their support was awesome.
Tremendous. So 5,000, how much? What was what were the hundreds?
It was 5,000 for the neonatal.
That's tremendous. what's your next fundraising plan? Have you got something else in mind?
No, not at the minute. Not at the minute. See, fundraising is so difficult, and I feel as though I've done my bit, but I'm always willing to give to others. Always.
Yeah, I have a notion that I know it'll be hard, but I have a notion you'll come up with another project. I can sense that from you.
I mean, I'm bound to come up with something else.
Good. Now, you mentioned earlier on when you were at school, you talked about a particular teacher, but we didn't give him a mention.
No, Mrs. Lam. She was an incredible storyteller, and she's a great lover of buttons. And she was the one who encouraged me to recite. And we have family button suppers here in my house, and I take a paper along and things. So there was one year I says to my mum, I would like to take Mrs. Lamb round for supper. And she says, okay. So my teacher goes and phones my mum and says, I'll see you at 5 o'clock for my supper. And ever since then, she's turned up.
Oh, excellent.
And she's always there reading. Every single year, she's there reading. So, and one of her favorite poems is Tamil Shanta. And every year she just gets a shock of her life when I recite it. But thank you very much for inspiring me.
Good. So that Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Good.
But I'm into history. Name it for it is. I'm into Scottish history, war history, British. I'm into everything.
Is there any particular period of history that you like better than any others?
I like the First World War.
What is it that appeals to you about that? What is it? The fact that was the sort of first conflict that we started to get photographs from?
Well, one of my favorite facts is that the truce in 1914, how the R stopped playing football in the song Silent Night. Christmas Eve and they stopped in song Silent Night.
Yeah, I remember that story.
And then in 2014, it came to life because it was the Sainsbury's advert.
Yeah, I remember it.
And it was great.
Very, very poignant.
Apart from the Sainsbury's bit at the end, but never mind. They had to get their tuppence worth in.
Oh, of course. You've talked about your house, and just in case the viewers get confused, the picture behind you is not of your house.
No, it's Burns Cottage in Holloway. And I've been
well, that's a good link for us to move over and get Jim to talk to you in a bit of detail about your love of Burns. And
of course.
So I'll pass over to Jim.
Okay.
You've obviously been with Burns basically all your life. And before we started, you mentioned about Peterhead Burns Club, and you go there. Can you tell us a wee bit more about that?
Well, my dad used to work with this gentleman, Michael Glennie. He's a really nice man, and he is a member of the Peterhead Burns Club, and he figured out that I liked Burns. He seen my my photographs, he's seen my posters, and he says to my dad, when I become 18, when Jake becomes 18, I will take him to the club. And he's kept that promise. So in 2018, I attended my first supper at Peterhead Burns Club, and there was over 200 people there, and it was the best experience. And I thank Michael from the bottom of my heart. He's such a lovely guy, and he's steamed me along ever since. And fingers crossed we could get back there next year.
And what about membership of that club? Are you on the waiting list?
I've been on the waiting list for 10 years. And a lot of people say to me, you should be on that stage. And I says, you don't need to speak to me. Speak to them at the top table.
I take it when they finally come to you and tell you can be a member, you'll offer your ability to do a bit of recitation to them.
I've did it to some of them already.
Well done, you. And a birthday at the Federation tells me you're involved with the Robert Burns World Federation as well, are you?
Well, in 2014, I took part in a Burns World Federation competition, and I became second. And I represented the honorary school in Peterhead. And I recited the address to the Haggis, and that was really when I realized that there was something special there. And I was proud.
Did you subsequently go to the Federation finals?
No, I just took part in a competition.
Yeah, but these competitions that are held locally lead on to a finals. I can't remember where it was in 2014. I think it might have been Glasgow. But so you obviously didn't.
But the one I took part in was in Aberdeen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you ken Helena Anderson, right? Helena.
I know Helena very well, I've got to tell you. Yes.
She admires my talent so much.
Yes, she's quite a character herself, I've got to say.
I've heard her recite, and she's pretty good.
She's certainly very involved with the Burns schools competitions, and has been for a long time. But yeah, I mean, you've mentioned Tam O'Shanter and you've mentioned the poems that you can recite. Apart from Tam O'Shanter, what would you say is your favourite?
Well, it has to be Tam O'Shanter, because that's the poem that I think explains Burns's life. Do you agree with me on that?
Well, that's a bit contrary. I would say that there's more to the poem than Burns himself, although there is quite a lot of Burns's life in the poem. And I'll tell you what, could you narrate from the start of the poem and finish at the end of the piece where he starts the 2-hour tale, right? Just recite down to there, because that's all Burns, and that is Burns as the narrator for the poem, and most of it is his thoughts and feelings. Could you recite that, Jake, for me, please?
Yes. Tam O'Shanter, a tale. When Chapman bullies leave the street, droopy neighbours meet, as market days are when late, and folk begin to tack the gate, as we sit boozing at the nappy, and get them full and Uncle Happy. We think that on the long Scots miles, the Moses water, thrups and styles that lie between us and Durham. Where sits our sulky, sullen dame, gathering her brows like gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth found honest Tam O'Shanter, as he the air united canter, all there that there are terms of passes, for honest men and bonny lassies. Tam had still but been so wise as to have taken my own wife Kate's advice. She told thee weel, thou with a skellum, a blether and bluster and drug and blellum, that fae November to October, a market day, thou wasna sober. That Elkie nailed her with a miller, thou sat as long as thou had summer. That every nag was caught a shoe on, the smith and thee got running full on. And at the Lord's house, even on a Sunday, they drink by Captain Jean till Monday. She prophesied that late or soon thou would be found deep drowned in Doon, or catched with warlocks in the murk by always old haunted kirk. Ah, gentle dames, it gars me great to think how money are counsel sweet, how money lengthen sage advices, the husband for the wife despises, but take my tale.
Well done, you. See, I think that, just a personal opinion, but I think that whole introduction isn't Burns just doing his normal thing, setting the scene. That's Burns giving you a lot of his theories in life. And so from that point of view, it's definitely a poem that involves Burns's life, but it's a poem about witches. And it's the witches and the devil worship that make it special for me personally. What do you like? Did you like any of that stuff?
I like Halloween.
Aye, but I mean,
That answers a lot.
aye, but Tam O'Shanter, Burns talks about the Haley table. I don't know if you remember that. The
To note upon the hilly
table.
a murderous bairns and gibbet ends, twas fang lang wee, yon crescent bairns, a thief, you cut it for the rape, where his last gasp, his gappeting gape, 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars with murder crusted, a gatter that a babe had strangled a knife, fair favours foot and mangled, on his own son of light bereft, the grey hairs yet stuck to the head, when mere are horrible and awful, which even to tell would be unlawful. 3 lawyers' tongues, inside out, will lie seen like a beggar's foot. 3 priest hearts, rot and black as muck, they stink and vile in every yuck.
That whole section there, Jake, there's 40 minutes of a lecture in relation to what he's saying there. And that's what I love about this poem, is the complexity of it. And I just find it amazing that, if you can recite it, you're not asked to do it at various events. How many times have you recited it at an event?
Well, never. The only time that I've really recited it has been to a family Burns nights. Never. I've never recited it at an event. Never.
But you've got it. You told us earlier you made a film of it, and we'll get the link on that, because I think it would be good to allow people the chance to hear it in full.
Yeah. And see that line, the 3 lawyers' tongues. People say to me, why do you include that line? Well, Burns wrote that line, and it should be included.
No, Burns
did it.
He wrote the lines. He wrote those 4 lines, but in total, There's more than 4 lines deleted from the poem. There's 10 in total that Burns deletes from the poem. And the reason he deleted those 4 is they depend on irony to fit. And he's doing it at a time in the poem when it's really dark. And that's why he deleted the 4 lines, those 4 lines.
But I like them because they're brutal.
Well, that's certainly the case. They certainly are. But the whole poem is actually quite difficult and brutal. But I mean, you talked about To a Mouse. You recite that. What made you pick To a Mouse to do a recitation on?
Because it was one of the shortest poems to learn. And that's the truth.
Jake, what technique do you use for learning poems? I mean, you told us earlier on that the medical people predicted that you would have struggled to remember things, but obviously they were way off the mark. So, but you use a particular technique to learn your poems.
I listen to some of the inspirational people, like of Tommy Dougal, Paul Anderson. I listen to a variety of people reciting, and I just listen to them until I get sick. and once I get that nailed down, I get in practice the actions. So I listen to people doing it.
Fantastic. So you basically listen to others and just get it into your head and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it.
Yes. And I'll tell you how long it took me to learn Tam O'Shanter. It takes people years. I learned it in just under 3 weeks.
Wow. That's amazing.
But when you're learning something like that, you need to be interested in it. Because
you've obviously got an interest in Burns in general, and the fact that you chose the cottage to have as your background for this Zoom, is there any significance in that?
it was because it was where he was born, and it was where he was inspired the most. I mean, look at Tam O'Shanter. He wrote Tam O'Shanter in 1790, I think it was. And it was written in Ellisland, Fareham. And I can't believe he could remember the kirk and the brig from way back in his childhood. And Burns Cottage is where the son was born, and where the most famous son is born, Robert Burns.
Have you the opportunity to visit the cottage?
I've visited Burns Cottage 3 times, could you believe it? Twice, I couldn't get my chair in the last 2 times. But I did manage to get in 1 year.
Good. And have you managed to go to the Birthplace Museum?
Yes, that's a phenomenal place. I would love to do a behind the scenes tour there. And I've met Chris Waddle. He's an absolute hero. He's a bank of knowledge. I'm not so experienced as him, but I could rattle off some Burns facts to you if you wanted.
Talking about the museum, presumably something as modern as a museum is accessible for your chair and such like.
Yes, it's perfect.
I'm sure they'll be pleased to hear that, because I know they work quite hard to make it accessible.
I think the museum is excellent. And speaking about the museum, would you mind if I started to talk about my own Burns collection?
No, we'd be delighted if you talked about it.
And there is something in particular that Jim hasn't seen, but Douglas has seen it. Would you like to fill Jim in, Douglas?
Oh, now, there's, I think you might be talking about a framed picture that's up on the wall.
It's not a framed picture, it's an actual flag.
Oh, there you go. Well, I've only seen it through the medium of the internet. So you need to tell us a bit more about it.
I mean, I'm a great flag collector. And my dream was to get a Scotland flag with Robert Burns's face in the middle. So you can't find such a thing online. So my father had to go and investigate to get him made specially. And he phoned all these different flag companies. But unfortunately, most of them came to England. So my dad goes on the phone to them, and my dad says, I would like a saltire with Burns's face in the middle. And the guy turned around and says to my dad, who's Burns?
Oh dear.
And my dad says, the guy who wrote Auld Lang Syne. He sings his song every year. And they said, we don't know. And that was about 4 or 5 companies he phoned. But we finally got him made, and I'm proud of it.
Now, we've been a wee bit quiet on the poetry front for a wee while. And Jim got you to talk a bit about To a Mouse. Are there any other poems that we might be able to persuade you to give us a wee reading from?
Let's go for To a Mouse. What verses do you want me to do up to?
Do the whole poem if you can.
To a Mouse by Robert Burns. Wee slicket coward and timorous beastie. Oh, what a panic's in thy priesty. Thou needn't to start a war against thee, but bicker and brattle. I would be left to run and chase thee, but murder and battle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion, which has broken nature's social union, and justifies that ill opinion which marks thee startle at me, my poor earthborn companion and fellow mortal. I doubt no whiles, but now me thief. What then, poor beastie, thou mun live? A demon ichor and afraid, as a small request, I'll get a blessing with the leave and never miss it. That wee bit housey to and when it silly was, the winds are strewing, and nothing now to big a ewing of foliage green, and bleak December's winds ensuing, both smell and keen. Now saw the fields laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, and cozy here beneath the blast, thou fought to dwell, thou crash, the cruel coulter passed, out through thy cell. But mousy, now art thou thy lane, and proven foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes o' mice and men can after gley, and lays out but grief and pain for promised joy. Still art thou blessed, compared with me, the present only touch of thee. But och, I backward cast my eye on prospects drear, and forward, though I cannot see, I guess and fear.
Well done. Well done.
That was excellent.
And there's no words in front of my either.
No, no, yeah. But for somebody that was predicted not to be able to remember stuff, you're,
No,
you're
didn't
doing
too
pretty
bad.
well.
You're doing really well.
I wish I could remember poetry like you.
But like I say, you need to be interested in it.
Yeah. But I'm interested in it, but I just don't have the ability to remember poetry.
You've got to sit doing and stick at it.
So what you're telling me, Jake, is I need to work harder.
Yes, 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 yes.
What poems in the future would you like to be able to recite? Is there any that you look forward to learning at some point?
Holy Willie's Prayer in particular. It's just finding the time to learn Holy Willie's Prayer because I'm at college. I'm at college and I'm doing advanced computing. And I haven't got the same amount of time as I used to here, but it's just finding the time. And the reason that I would like to learn Holy Willie's Prayer is because I think it would be one of those poems where I could dress up again and mark a character and mark a movie. I could just imagine myself with the Willy Winky hat on and the grey wig and the eyebrows and the candle.
I think there's an actor in there somewhere that likes to be on the stage.
I mean, I do like drama. I mean, see if what I just did for doing just now, reading the poem, that's nothing to me. Like, I need to be dressed up. I need to be put into the outfit. Like, there is something when I put the bonnet on to do Tam O'Shanter. There's just something special about it.
How do you do your filming? Do you have the camera on a tripod, or do you operate it remotely, or does somebody do the filming with you?
My friend just does it on a phone.
Our phones nowadays are so capable now. It's amazing what you can do with them, isn't it?
Oh, it is amazing.
And if you get into doing any kind of editing yourself, or do you just kind of do it as one take?
Well, I think editing is too fake. Sometimes. And I think you've got one opportunity to do it, just do it.
Why not?
Because it's real and it's live. See,
Yeah.
I'm not really in for watching television. I would rather watch live entertainment because it's something that could never be done again.
You obviously live entertainment is important to you in the recitation of poems. What about other forms of entertainment have you thought about? Do you do any singing or anything like that?
Well, I used to sing, but unfortunately my voice is broken, so I'm just sticking to the reciting.
So you're not a boy soprano anymore?
No. And I did sing a solo on a CD that the school made in Peterhead, the school I went to, and the CD was to raise money for a school minibus.
I tell you, you've done a lot of fundraising.
Aye.
So what song did you sing in the CD?
Love is the greatest gift of all, but I'm not going to sing on here because I think I would just sound horrible.
You sussed us out there, Jake.
Well, we've had your favourite poem, and you've recited to a mouse as well. Have you got any favourite facts about Burns?
Well, I've got a few actually. I'll be super quick. My favourite thing is every year on the 23rd of December, we look at our past year and we bring in the new year with the Scots tongue, Old Lang Syne.
Mhm.
And also, Burns's face was the first person's face to appear on a Coca-Cola bottle in 2009. And Burns's skull was casted. And there was a facial reconstruction made. And I think the Alexander Maysmith portrait is an accurate depiction. And in fact, I've got Burns' skull here. I've got a 3D printed model of it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Tell us about how you got that.
Well, I was on the internet. So, and I managed to find a 3D model of the skull. And my dad got it printed at his work.
Tremendous. Can you show us that again, just so folk can see it?
Of course, it's near the accurate size, but it is Burns' skull. And I've also got a 3D printed version of the Burns statue, which is on my shelf high up because it's delicate.
Good. Well, we'll not ask you to take that down in case we have a wee accident.
I mean, I was going to talk at Doom, but I was anxious.
No, you better to leave it safe.
Well, we're coming to the close of this, Jake, because as always we tend to run out of time before we run out of things to say, but I can't have you coming on here and reciting Tam O'Shanter and no finishing the best bit of the poem, the chase at the end. So the floor's yours. Take the poem to its conclusion.
Oh, Tom, thou get thy theron, and hell I'll rush you like a heron. In vain I wait, Kate's I coming. Kate soon will be a woeful woman. Now do thy speed utmost make, and win the keys down on the brake. There and then thy tail may toss, a running stream they turn they cross. But ere the keys down she can make, the fainter tail she had to shake for Nanny. Far before the rest, hard upon noble Maggie pressed, and she flew Tom with furious ettle. But little wist she Maggie's mettle. A string brought off her master heel, and left the hen her ain great heel. The Clallan plucked her by the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. While this tale of truth shall read, old man and mother's son, take heed. And if you drink, you are inclined, or got a saxon in your mind, think you may by the joys of our dear remember Tam O'Shanter's mare.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you very much for that.
No problem, Jam.
Well, thanks for that, Jake, and it just leaves me to say thank you very much for telling us about your life with Robert Burns. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.